Do you have a butt kicker or transducer that's not getting the job done? Is it shaking to just the low-end sounds? What if it shook when it was supposed to? SimVive is an advanced multi-dimensional audio-based feedback software that utilizes 1 to 8 bass transducers and provides the correct physics-based vibrations throughout your simulator. This can greatly enhance immersion and drivability. All you need is one shaker, an extra sound card, and SimVive software. Check it out for yourself. Go to simexperience.com and then click on products and then SimVive. Welcome to Inside Sim Racing and another test drive segment. And before you start thinking, what the heck is he doing test driving the Radical in iRacing? Well, that's because in the latest build that just came out a couple weeks ago, or about a week ago, iRacing has upgraded not only the tire model in the Radical, which I have running behind me here, but they also did some suspension work and some other tweaks that, in my opinion, make this car one of the best cars in all of sim racing. And not only that, there's just a lot more to it. So besides just the car, there's a whole little community within a community that races this car religiously. And I just wanted to tell you guys about it. Not only the car and how it feels now, but about this community and what they've got going on behind the scenes at iRacing. So that being said, I think I found my favorite new car, like I said. And also, I think I found a place to race this season. I was contemplating the roof Porsche in that GT3 series. I was contemplating doing some super late model, which I still might. I might run some oval. I still like doing oval stuff too. But I'm really, at heart, more of a road racer. So went through all the cars. I test drove pretty much all the new, well, not all of them, but a good handful of all the cars that have the new tire model, version 5, by the way. And as I saw that the Radical was on the list, I thought to myself, you know, there's that cool little community that's attached to it too. Let me give this thing a test drive. Man, this thing is friggin' awesome. It not only has some really badass sounds, but now with the new tire model, and it was fun before, don't get me wrong. But now with the new tire model, it just takes this car to a whole new level. And it's the one I'm gonna be racing this season. And what I got there is my first race that took place just this last weekend, and it was at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, which used to be called Mosport. And tough track, fun track though. I really like running it, very technical in some spots. But so that was race 1. I'm going to tell you about that. Going to tell you about the community that's attached to it, and everything else I can think of. Oh, and my race report. So here's the changes that have actually been made to the car. Besides the new tire model, they reviewed and improved suspension geometry, shocks, bump stops, anti-roll bars, and steering. They updated the aerodynamics, which allows the wing to be adjustable in 2-degree increments, more accurate ride height sensor locations, and they updated the setups. So now some specs on the car if you're not familiar with it. It's got a 380 horsepower, 72-degree power RPA, 2.6 liter, 32 valve V8. And if you haven't heard this thing, man, this thing screams. Transmission is a PowerTech 6-speed, and the weight is 650 kilograms, which only equates to 1,433 pounds. So this thing's really light. The power to weight ratio is really nice in my opinion. So next up, I'm going to talk a little bit about the community. And like I had mentioned, it's got a great little community attached to it. And what I mean by that is if you go on the iRacing forums, actually just get in the car, and right under the car on the main screen, there's a little link that says forum, and that'll take you right to it. So what these guys do on a weekly basis is they put together this pre-race weekly drivers meeting to an extent that talks about the track, passing locations. Some of them even have a video associated with it, so there's a lap at the track. Setups, there's setups for just about every track and every race that you're gonna run. As a matter of fact, I ran my race with both qualifying and race trim in setups that I found in the forum. So if you don't have to be a setup engineer guru to get fast in this car to be competitive, and that was definitely the case for me. I didn't touch either setup and went out and did fairly well. And again, I'll tell you about that in a minute. Not only do they have all this great information about the car and this, it's almost like a league. You know, the cool thing about this little community is that there's lots of camaraderie going on. And that makes it, like I said, feel more like a league versus just a pickup race where you're jumping into something that you don't know the other drivers, how they're going to respond, where these guys week in and week out are running against each other for the most part. There's new guys coming in and out, but especially when a new season starts. But it really gets them accustomed to how the other drivers are going to respond. And I got to tell you, based on that race, everybody is really aware and driving like gentlemen, not driving over their head. And I was in the highest split, I believe, for the week, but definitely made for some great racing. Some people may wonder, why am I test driving an older car like this? This car's been in the service, in iRacing service, for years, 4 years probably now. It was one of the first road race cars. And as a matter of fact, there was a deal where you could get the car for free. And it never really saw tons of participation because they just started coming out with new stuff. And people are going to migrate to the newest car. Like everybody's driving the roof Porsche right now in that GT3 series, which is fun. But for me, again, I like more of a car that's, more racy. And not that the roof isn't racy, because it is, but man, I said it earlier, this car is just amazing with these new changes. And it just makes me want to race it. So let's talk about the series and the participation. They have, basically every night there's a pickup race going on. And I'm going to put the times here on the screen, but the weekly pickup races for the U.S. and Americas runs at 7:45 Eastern and 9:45 Eastern. And again, you may not get the type of participation you're going to see in the bigger races on the weekend, but if you're looking for a time slot to run, that's it. And again, if you're looking for a car that you can run every hour on the hour, and this is every 2 hours this car races, by the way, this may not be for you. But for someone like me that would rather practice a car during the week and then race, and there's a few times that you can race. There's probably, I'll tell you in a second here, but I think there's like 4 different splits where you can get a chance to run against a decent strength of field. And if you're wondering what I mean by strength of field, that's based on iRating. And the higher the ranked drivers, as far as the iRating goes, the more points you're going to get, both on the iRating side and on the championship side. So if you really want to compete in a series, you got to look for those strength of field races. And it pretty much happens in most of the series where, go look in the forum for some of the other series, you'll find strength of field races. So more of the pickup races, European weekly pickup times, 17:45 GMT, which I think is about 9:45 a.m. here. And this time will vary based on our daylight savings, and then 19:45. And then Australian weekly times, 9:45 GMT, which ends up being 9:45 Eastern time. Now, you want to run the strength of field races? First up on Friday, it's the US and Australian, or Yankaroos is what they're calling it. There are 2 splits for that, and one is at 1:45, which ends up being 6:45 Pacific or 9:45 Eastern time, and that's Friday night here in the States. And on Australia, actually, that time is 9:45 a.m. Western Australian time and 11:45 a.m. Eastern Australian. So that's a good time slot for the Aussies to run. And then there's the Australian and European, or SIRS, and that's at 11:45 GMT and 13:45 GMT, I'm assuming on Saturday. And then for the one I'm racing in, there's actually a split at 19:45, and that ended up being, for me here in the Pacific time zone, 11:45 a.m. and 2:45 Eastern time. And that'll change again based on daylight savings. But just as long as you go 19:45 GMT, you'll be in that race. Speaking of that race, got it running here in the background. Again, 25 minutes, which turned into 21 laps. There was 22 cars in my field, and there was 2 splits that ran at that time. And it looks like I just squeaked into the top split because my iRating is like 2,500 or so. Actually, I think after this race, I got to 2,600. And the average strength of field for that race, or the strength of field overall, was 3361. There was guys with like 6,000 iRating points, and I was running right next to them. So anyway, I was car number 21 out of 22. So like I said, I just squeaked into that top split, which for me, I'd prefer to be in a split that I'm going to have lots of competition versus dominating a lower split. Not that I would have dominated the lower split, but based on the average lap time of the guy that won it, and his fast lap, I would have given him a run. So, and sure, it's fun to win a race, but I gotta say, running in this race was a blast. So I started, let's talk about the race, I'm getting kind of long here. Started 7th on the grid, and on the pole was Mitch McCracken, who set a blistering time like in the mid-112s or so. And then I was sitting behind, and sorry if I get you guys' names wrong, Xavier Busums and Tino Bukim. And next to me was David Scott in the 8th spot, who is actually, I've actually met him in person, met him at Infineon a few years back. And he's also a big part of this community and getting everybody involved and posting different things. And he's a guy that posts setups all the time. And as a matter of fact, I used his race setup in this race. And like I said, I didn't even make any adjustments to it. It was pretty much plug and play for me. If I spent some time, then again, me spending time on a setup, it just makes it worse. So finding a good setup for me to drive is the best way for me to go about things. So that being said, standing start, and from my standpoint, the start was really clean. I think there might have been something that happened behind me, but everybody around me was running clean. Until about turn 3, I think I got on the brakes a little bit earlier than the guy behind me thought I was going to. Had him cross up in about turn 3, I think it was. He crossed up, got sideways, went off track, and I apologize, man, if that was the case. I didn't want to run into the guy in front of me. I wanted to get a little gap there, and maybe it was a little too much. And my braking point in line into turn 3 seemed to be a little different than everybody else, so that might have affected things. From there, I just basically tried to put my head down and stay consistent, because I knew these guys were going to be fast. Being the 21st ranked guy in the room, I just wanted to finish in the top 10, and I knew I'd score some decent points, both on the iRating side and the championship side. Figured if I could just stay in 7th, that would be great. And maybe due to attrition, I might pick up a few spots and maybe even battle the guy in front of me for a position, but those dudes were fast. I think I stayed with him for about 2 laps, and then he just started pulling away, which then put me in this great battle with Lambert Bring and Antti Jonen. And those guys were glued bumper to bumper. And pretty much, I think the closest they got was within a half second, but they were breathing down my neck. And every time I'd see them get closer, I'd just say to myself, man, I gotta just put my head down, try to run mid-13s, 113s, and hopefully I can pull away from them, get a gap, and hopefully they'll battle with each other and allow me to pull ahead, which was the case. At about, gonna fast forward a little bit because nothing much happened except for due to attrition, I got up to 4th place. There was 3 guys that for whatever reason went off track, and again, Mosport, which is what I'm gonna call it, Canadian Motorsports Park, is pretty tough, especially Moss Corner, double 90-degree corners that comes up a hill, like a tabletop you could call it, and you go down the hill. You really have to be on your game to nail that section. Especially, I think it's called Andretti Straight, is where you're coming off of the tabletop. You really got to carry a lot of speed onto that if you want to stay in front of the guys behind you. I seem to have been able to carry a little bit more speed coming out of that second corner and down that straight, and that helped me maintain that gap. So speaking of that gap, I got it to about 2 seconds. I think almost 2.5 seconds at one point. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to kind of take it easy. If they can catch me, they got to pass me. And I figured I was just maybe a hair quicker than them. So started taking it easy a little bit, and then they started catching me. With 3-4 laps to go, they started running me down a little bit. Got it to like 1.9 seconds. And then I thought, man, I got to start motoring here. Well, that might have been what ruined my chances at a 4th place finish. So going into turn 4, it's a wide open left-hander that leads into that Moss Corner, tabletop section. And if you clip the apex coming into that corner, it'll disrupt the car to the point where you better hold on for dear life if you want to make it through. Get off the gas, do whatever it takes, but I just couldn't hold on. Spun up the hill, up into the kitty litter. Here goes Lambert and Antti, and then there was another guy, Gerhard von Liggenfeld, who was able to catch up to those guys while they were battling, and all 3 of them went by me. So Luckily, that kitty litter caught me at the top of Moss and basically stopped the car. And I was facing right into the corner at that point because I spun backwards and I'm facing into the corner. And was able to just get right behind Gerhardt. And the guy behind me was far enough behind where I was hoping I could catch Gerhardt. But at that point, those guys were pretty much on a roll and 2 laps to go. Just couldn't catch him. So ended up finishing 7th, which I'm pretty proud of, considering I haven't raced in a while, not to toot my own horn, but that was a lot of fun. And, 25 minutes was a nice, good race for me to get my feet wet again and run against some great competition and just have fun. And, man, if I just didn't clip that corner coming out of turn 4, which, again, that thing's flat out. You're just flying through there. I would have maintained 4th easily, picked up even more points. But I'm sitting pretty good, considering week 1. I think I'm in the top 5 in all of the series. And there's only about 180 guys ran this last week. But I'd say I have a good start considering, going into the first season. Actually, I'm like 5th in Division 2 too. So a lot of the fast guys are in Division 2. But, and I don't know, I may be off on exactly where I'm at. But join us. Come race with us in that series. If you don't have that car, it's worth buying. If you do, go take it for a test drive if you haven't. Try the new tire model in it. Try the new suspension. And we're at Laguna Seca this week. A lot of people have Laguna, I hope, because it's free. So come on out, race Laguna Seca with us, and see what a great community this is. And I got to tell you, before you just jump in and start racing, I'm going to have some links in my description here. Go check out everything they have to offer. There's a whole New to the Radical series start here that David Scott posted, and it's basically saying that this is like a club type atmosphere, and you just really want to respect the other guys out there. You don't want to come out here and just go guns a-blazing and start taking dudes out, because you're not going to make a good name for yourself. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Hopefully I'll see you guys on the track in the Radical. I'll be running next week at Laguna. I'm addicted to this thing now. Matter of fact, I think as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to do some practicing. But I'd like to thank David Scott for giving me tips and telling me some stuff behind the scenes about how they have been putting this together for a while. And I also heard through I'm on the alpha testing. I saw some, back and forth comments going about how they helped develop this car, and it's worth the drive. So that's going to wrap it up. I'm Darren Ganji for Inside Sim Racing. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you want to see more, let me know. I'll probably be recording my races. Oh, the full race is going to be on our secondary channel. I'll also have a link to that in our description. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Come to our website, isrtv.com. Check out all the blogs, man. William Marsh and John Sable have been kicking butt on the blogs, and they've got 1 or 2 stories per day. Join us in our forums. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. I'll see you guys next time. Or maybe I'll see you at Laguna.